All right, so we've got our layer comps, and we're going to export each page, each layer comp as an image, and then turn them into an interactive prototype. So starting with this window, layer comps, have it open. I've got my home layer comp. I've got that turned on with this little icon there. I'm going to export that. That's my home state. So I'll export it. I'll choose quick export as PNG. And I'm going to go to week 3, and I'll just call it site root. And I'm going to name that home, so I know it's the home page I can work with. So again, I'm just exporting this first screen here as my home page. This layer comp is turned on. File, export, quick export as PNG. Choosing that, and I'll call it home.png and save it. So easy enough. I made a folder in my students folder here. You guys should know that each of you in Art3812 art server, under students, you have a folder with your name to use while you're working in the class. All right. So next, I'm going to turn on the about layer, but I also want this about highlight. And so what that means, I just want this about button highlighted. So I'll turn off the highlight on the others. This little color overlay there, since it's the about, I need that turned on. I'll turn it off on work, then that, turn it off on support, and turn it off on contact us. So on the about page, I've got this about thing highlighted so it stays lit. And then I'll have this little breadcrumb there, so I'm good. So it is the way I want it to be. Go to File, Export, Quick Export, and I'll call this image about.png and save it out. Once again, I use my layer comp to turn on About Us highlight layer comp, and I control the visibility of these highlights by turning off the color overlay on the ones that didn't need it. And then go to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, and then overriding, and then writing the about.png file. Next is going to be the work page, our work. If I click on that, the our work highlight, the our work color overlay comes on. In this case, only that button is lit up. If it's not, then make sure you turn off those. And we'll go to File, Export, Quick Export, and that's going to be work.png. Enough. Support us. So I just need to support, and support us is highlighted in gray, and I will choose File, Export, Quick Export, Support. Support.png. Now I got a little problem here that I gotta fix. So I got on this particular comp, the bar is too high, so I'm just gonna nudge that down and export it again. Now this is a group, right? So groups are a little bit challenging to work with in Photoshop, but if you use the group selector for your move tool, you can actually make it work. It'll allow you to select the group and move it. So I'll do that export again. update layer position, update appearance, file export, quick export, and this is the support image. Yes, overwriting it because it wasn't exactly right before. Okay, last, contact us page. Click on that, and the contact us highlight turns on. About our work, support us are not highlighted, they're in white. That's good. File, export, quick export. And this is now contact. Now we've got it. All right, so I've exported 5 total images. Let's go look at where they are. Parent, students, Professor Mike, week 3, prototype site. That's where I was, right? Right, week 2, exercise 2. Lessons, oh, wrong again, wrong, my mistake, move it, okay, it's here. So, students, Professor Mike, week 3, site route, 5 images that I've exported. The home image, contact us, about us, support us, our work. So I want to make a prototype out of these. All right, so to make that prototype, I'm going to use Dreamweaver, Adobe Dreamweaver CC 2018. This is what I was working on last week, but you're going to do this together with me. So if you didn't get that bar, if you didn't get that far, you can make a copy of this folder here in week 3, and then follow the lesson from this point forward. So that's lessons, week 3, site route. And you make a copy of this whole folder by copying it, and then paste it into your folder, for example. Okay. Folder called site route, which is in R30H12, lessons, week 3. All right, let's go to it. In Dreamweaver, Dreamweaver is our integrated development environment for building websites. It's part of the Adobe Creative Suite. It's a really cool app. It does a lot of good stuff, but at its base, it's really a code editor that has some graphical user interface tools that allow us to learn how to develop for the web in a visual way, but you learn to use code. And so for this exercise, we're going to use one of its graphical user interface tools that is called the map tool, and allows us to create hotspots on our images that will simulate hyperlinks in a real coded web page. So to start at any project in Dreamweaver, we use something called the site function up there, the site menu there. We'll call it site. We'll go to site and we'll choose new site there. And this is like creating a project that Dreamweaver can utilize to point at a folder. And a site is really just a pointer to a folder on our local computer or on a server that Dreamweaver uses as a repository for the stuff we're going to work on. So I got site, and I'm going to point at that folder I created under week 3 site root. I'm going to choose that. One more time, I'm going to click this. I'm going to go to site, new site, and then site name. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it project1 prototype lesson. And then I'm going to click this little folder here to browse for that folder I created. Week 3, site root. And I see that my 5 images are there. Bless you. And I will choose them. And then I'm ready to just choose save. And what happens is I get this files tab over here that shows me the 5 images I have exported. I'm able to work with them now. All right. Again, I'm recording this, and I'll upload it to YouTube so you guys can look at it later, if necessary. All right. Next up, we want to create an actual web page that we can drop our images into. So I've got a site defined over here, so now I can add some pages to it. So I'll go to File, New, and it says Document, New Document Type, HTML. Framework is none, and I'll hit Create. I do that. I like to work where I am viewing things vertically, split vertically, view, split vertically. I like my code on the right and my design on the left there. Dreamweaver has design mode and live mode. We want to work in design mode right now. Live mode lets it preview all your code as if it were live on a site. You can interact with it. So there's code view, split view, and design view. Usually best to work in split because you can see your design view and your code view at the same time. All right, since I'm in design view, I can take this home image. I can just drag it right into my design view. And it says you should save images first, blah, 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 and I'll say save. So I'll save the image, and I'll always call my home page index.html. Essential that I do that. So the home page, anytime you create a home page for a site, call it index.html. Very important to never use spaces or capital letters in your document names, your file names. The file name is referenced in code when you're linking to it. It's referenced by the server when it's asked to serve up a page. And when you call a directory, it has to look for something, and the index page is always what it serves up. So if a file is called index, that'll be the first page that gets served. You can use capital letters in file names, but just remember that you will have to call them in your code by capital letters, and that can be a real big source of errors. So for any of you guys who code, who are computer scientists or computer science majors, you know that you want to avoid errors and avoid things that can cause errors. So my recommendation is never ever use capitals in your file names, just use lowercase. Never use spaces either, because that can't be interpreted. So just use an underscore or a dash if you want to create a separator between words in the file name. Okay, enough of that. We're in split mode here. I can start doing my prototyping now by adding my hotspots. What I do need to have open is something called the Properties palette. So I'll go to Window Properties, and I'll select the image that I dropped into the design view here. I had dragged it from my files right into the design view and dropped it. So I'll click on it, and then down in the Properties palette in the lower left here, very obscure little spot, there's something called the Map area. And the map has a pointer, a rectangle, and a circle, and a polygon hotspot tool. So I'm going to use these to create my hotspots. So starting with the rectangle tool, I'll drag a liberal rectangle around my About button to form that hotspot. So this is the Properties palette. Properties palette, I've got my rectangular hotspot tool, and I just drag this box. So that now allows me to link it using the link field here. And I'm going to link that to a page that doesn't yet exist. And I'll name that page about.html. Even though the page doesn't exist, I can still link to it, because I'll create it later. So I'm going to do a similar thing now for the work button under here on the nav. So I'll drag a rectangular box liberally around that, and I'll create a hotspot link, and I'll call it work.html, linking to a page called work that it too does not yet exist. And I'll repeat that process for the next two. Support us. So the link is called Support Us. You don't have to call the page that. So I'll just call it something shorter. Call it support.html. And last, I'll hit one more for Contact Us, and I'll call that one contact.html. So now I've got those covered. I also should create a link back to the home page itself. So I'll usually do that on the logo at the top. So I'll drag another hotspot around the logo and call that index.html. And then these features down here should probably get links as well. And I'll drag a box around this one. I'll also link that one to the About page. Make sure you take that little hashtag away. That'll cause an error. And I'll link this one, how big. I'll link that to work.html. And I'll link this one to support.html. How can you make a difference? So I've linked all these hotspots. If I switch to this little pointer, I can click on each one to double check it. It's good. So all these links are active. I'll just make sure I'm saving as I go. I saved it. Save all. And now you'll see that our code is actually updating live. I was using the graphical user interface, but it's creating code for me. It's telling me that I have an image here. Source src equals home.png. You'll notice that's a width, that's a height, and this is the map that I created. It's called an image map. And it's telling me that I created a rectangle shape with these coordinates and this hyperlink reference. All right, so now I've got this page done. My prototype for this page is done. I need to do it for the rest, the other 4 pages. Now I could drag everything, make this again for each page. Like for example, I create a new page and bring in the contact us image, but I can reuse all this stuff. I can reuse all these because the navigation bar is in the same place on every single page. So that's really helpful. So if I duplicate this page and rename it to the file name I used in my link, so if I duplicate it and make it about, all I have to do is swap out this image and my work will be done. Same thing with work, support us, and contact us. If I duplicate the index page, rename that duplicate to something like work.html, swap out the image, I'll be done. Let me show you an example of how that would work. So over here in my files palette, it shows me all my site files, my index file, and all the images. So I'll close this and then zoom in on that. This is my index page, the one I just worked on. I'll right-click that and choose Edit, Duplicate. It makes a copy of it. So I'll call it about.html. Now I'll double click it to open it. And it's the same exact page now. It's a duplicate of index. And this, all I need to do is swap out this image with another image. So there's a bunch of ways I can do that, right? I can use the source field in my properties palette down here with this little folder. It says the source is home.png. I can swap that with my about.png by hitting this folder and clicking on it, about, choose it, and notice it falls into the same spot. I've got these hotspots where they need to be, but I really don't need these anymore, so I'll just get rid of them. Gone. I'll hit save. Now I have an opportunity to test this out. I'll use the real-time preview under File. So File, Real-Time Preview. Choose one of the browsers. Choose Safari. And that brings up the About page. And I'll click on the top because only the index page exists at this moment in time. So I'll click on that and I can go back. So if I click on About, it works. I'm in. That's great. This will probably work too, yep. So now I just need to repeat that process for the remaining 3 pages. I'll do that. I can take About over here in my files and go to Edit, Duplicate, and the next one will be Work. And I could do it again, Command D. Work, support is next. And then I've got contact. So now I need to swap these out. work. The work.html, I'm going to need the work image in here. I'll use that same swapping technique. But I can actually just type in the name of the file, either in the code window here, or in the properties palette right there. I could just swap out the name of it. So let's use the code the properties palette, and I'll just, instead of about, it'll be work.png. Type that in and it replaces it. Save. I'll do support now, and this time I'll use the code editor over here, and I'll swap out the about file with support.png. So just type it there. Support.png, and it swaps it. Last is going to be contact us, contact, I'll select the image, and would you believe there's one more way to swap it out? We did the folder. I mean, there's a couple more ways actually, but we could double click on it to bring up the dialog box, but I'll use this slick rubber band here. It's this little target, just drag it right onto the contact image right there, and it swaps it. It's like 7 different ways of doing that. All right. Now we've got it. So let's do a product. Let's do a preview of it. And that's good. I can go to about, work, support, contact. All these work. Should probably fix this. That's a problem. But my prototype's working really well. So if you guys can deliver this for project 1 or something close to it, you'll be doing very well. All right, I'm going to stop the recording so it doesn't go on forever.